And I would like to extend my thanks to UC for continuing to be strong partners of IFMSCI, and also for our hosts, DPS, and the DPS Youth Council for hosting us in lovely Montenegro. A friend of mine actually said a couple of days ago that Montenegro is the most beautiful country in the Balkans. I wasn't sure, but actually having the journey here, I think that they might be right. So it's lovely to be back at UC Congress after 2 years. Some of you might know that I was actually on the other side of the table 2 years ago in Tirana as a UC project manager. I think we need to give a huge thanks to the UC Secretariat, whose work often goes unnoticed and underappreciated. They work tirelessly to make events like this happen. So I'd like to say a special thanks to Gohar, Amanda, and Alessandro for all of their work behind the scenes. I don't know where you are, but if you can give us a wave. So 2 years might not sound like a long time. It might not feel like a long time. But not only have there been very significant changes in UC, but there's been huge changes in wider society. If you told me 2 years ago that Trump would have been elected the President of the United States and that the UK would vote to leave the EU, I probably would have laughed in your face. I wouldn't have believed you. And before you ask about Brexit, I really have no idea what's going to happen, and I don't think anyone has any idea about what's going to happen. We've also seen a step backwards in women's rights in many places in the world, and we have a threat of a nuclear war showdown between North Korea and the US happening on Twitter of all spheres. But we should also look at the positives. I'm thrilled that we can celebrate our former UC president, Jacinda Ardern, becoming New Zealand's first youngest prime minister last October. And God forbid, she's going to have a baby when she's in office as well. We should celebrate the peace deal that was achieved in Colombia between the FARC and the government. And we should celebrate the Paris Climate Change Agreement that came into force at the end of 2016. The topics of sexual assault and tax evasion are being discussed seriously for the first time in the public sphere, thanks to the Me Too campaign and the publication of the Panama Papers. So with a very rapidly changing world order, it's important to discuss the left, and I'm very pleased to see this as the theme of Congress. We should be paving the way as youth, being radical and setting the precedent. It's important to discuss about what we mean about being on the left. It's important to discuss and develop common policies. It's important to discuss how we should be behaving on the left with respect to one another and how to put our values into action through our own behaviors. There's been a lot of talk in the last months, especially in Europe, about the end of neoliberalism, something that I feel is really long overdue, and I'm pleased is coming into the discussions on the left. But in order for us to take back power on the left, we need to unite as the left. We need our parties to stop going into coalition with the right and instead offering a strong opposition in order to take back our governments in the future. We need to have strong socialist policies, not just watered-down policies of the Liberals and the Conservatives. In order to do this, we can't just look inside of our parties, but bridge the gap with civil society, with the formal and non-formal education sectors, and also activist groups. We need to step outside of our comfort zone and not just preach to the converted. We should be working with other like-minded organizations outside of our parties and building stronger links with our trade unions. We need to do it together. Otherwise, we're destined for a world with increasing gaps between the rich and poor, where profit is put over people time and time again. Shortly after Brexit, my dad said to me that we have to hit rock bottom before we come back up again. Now, I'm not really sure what rock bottom looks like, and I'm not sure if we're there yet, but I think we're pretty close. So now is the time to unite on the left, to support each other in our fight against the bigger powers at play. We also need to remember the lessons learned from Jacinda in her election campaign. Jacinda's campaign was based around politics of kindness, saying that empathy should be the one thing that keeps us all grounded. I hope we can take the example of Jacinda in this Congress, but also in the upcoming mandates and in the future, so that we can strive for a better and fairer Europe for all. Thank you.